Hey, Jerry.
Hey, we're sharing a mic.
Do we have to be on top of it together?
Yes.
So what I did was I trapped Larry because I made the snowstorm happen.
Yeah.
And Larry is part of, or is the designer with Eric on Supertech University. And one of the reasons that we're talking about this is because we know that recovering addicts make fantastic entrepreneurs. Oh, and we have a friend too. This is Barkley. If you haven't met Barkley yet.
Hey, Barkley.
He's a addict and he's practicing.
And the other piece
Sport dog
is when you come out of addiction and into sobriety, you've been numbing for so long that you're having trouble.
You're having trouble.
So Larry, we're having trouble with kind of the soft skills, the emotional part. How do you work with people? How do you manage people? So tell us a
many
little
of
bit
the technicians that we get haven't had skills, life skills to communicate, to be self-aware, the self-confidence especially. So we teach those skills to people, and I would expect that if you're coming out of a program and you're having issues in life, those are going to be big skills that you need to work on. And how to improve them. We train technicians, young men, young women. It just doesn't make a difference on the age to improve those skills so that they can interact with people better with more confidence and be more effective.
You know, that's really great, Larry. We have a 17-year-old who could really benefit from some of that. So we'll send him your way here shortly.
Sometimes when they leave the house, they act a lot better than you expect when they're not around us, which is kind of weird.
Well, the most interesting thing how you do it is in short segments. Tell us how the whole thing is set up.
Oh, well, it has to do with attention span as well, because if you're going to train, just like you were just talking about Jerry with the 17-year-old, if you put them in a room for an hour and try and teach them something, just like if they're in a classroom, they won't be able to focus. There's only so long where they're going to be engaged. So we do a 5-minute lesson every single day. So you drip information onto a person that wants to learn to develop skills. So it's just small increments of data.
So in the small increments, Larry and I were just talking about this. You have categories for each day?
Yeah. So Monday is personal development, so that the individual learns how to be better at home. If you're better at home,
I'm going to be sick this Monday.
Okay, we're going to send you a personal development, how to show up on time, how to prep for your day. And then on Tuesday is in-home behavior. So you know how to behave in the house, communicating with the clients or on the job site. And then Wednesday is DISC, which is self-awareness tools, which many people are not taught how to be self-aware at all. And that makes a big difference. And then Thursday is service and selling. So it's a confidence building suggestions on how to sell. Or not confidence building suggestions, but it builds your confidence so you're able to communicate with the client that they need new services. And that's generally what we found. The biggest problem is they don't even address, hey, we could help you with this.
Well, and when we're talking about selling, we're also talking about the person selling themselves. So these would be skills that you'd use in a job interview, skills that you would use. Can they take it home to their family?
Yeah. The DISC, especially the self-awareness. DISC is the biggest part of this. And Friday, I was going to say, is the accountability part of it. So the accountability comes in, if you hold yourself accountable for all this information, it goes a lot further. And back to the DISC is something you could take home as well and apply it to your family to better your relationships with yourself and with others around you.
So there, you've opened it. You're going to have to walk me through the DISC.
The DISC is you can evaluate yourself, who you are. So say, for example, you're more of an accountant type and you're an introvert, right? And you don't want to talk to people as much, but you're very good at details. Some people don't like being that way. They want to be the extrovert because that's what society rewards. So if you find out you're this way, you know who you are and you give yourself credit for that. I was going to say forgive, but you don't forgive yourself for being a certain way. You appreciate that's your strength. And if being extroverted like an I, which is on the other, if you're a person that likes talking with people, you like fast paced, that's who you are, but you realize that's how you are. And if you're going to have to deal with someone that's a C that I was just talking about, the accountant, the slow-paced, data-driven person. You have to slow your pace dealing with that person, and you have to give more details than you normally would. And that's the interaction, but you have to understand who you are first. The other part is the D, dominant, takes control person. They're fast-paced and they're more non-people oriented, more task-oriented. And that's who you are. And then the other one is the S, which is the slower paced people person. So once you see where you are and you land in these categories, you can be more self-aware of your activities and be happier with who you are, and then recognize how you need to be with other people to make life easier. If that makes any sense, I'm trying to explain it in a quick fashion.
So none of these are bad.
No, none of them are bad at all.
They're just all different availabilities for how to do it. And often I know that I've been in jobs where my really outgoing personality was not the right fit for what they wanted. And when you help these guys recognize, when you help people recognize who they are, how they're doing things, what changes for them?
Well, they become more comfortable in their own skin. They recognize their strengths and who they are, and they appreciate it, versus somebody might have told them, why aren't you this way? Why aren't you that way? And they wanted to be another way, but they're not. So be who you are and be good with it, and be able to visit the other boxes so that you can communicate with other people. It makes it easier. It takes all the personal out, because if you see somebody that's extroverted and a people person and you're not, you don't get upset at that person for being that way. Or if somebody's being dominant and they're being fast paced, don't get mad at them for being that way. Just accept that's who they are, and then try and visit them on their strengths.
So this is our first 3-person in-house. We're trying to figure out, we're going to do this together here. We're going to learn this together. So I'm turning my chair just a little bit more. If I'm not making eye contact with you, I'm doing it there on the screen. I promise. Cool. Real quick. What are you? I'm sure you've evaluated yourself.
Yeah. Fast-paced people person. So I'm an I, I'm fast-paced. I alienate all the slow-paced, task-oriented people.
And when you were describing the technique, there was an implication that you're going to evaluate the person you're talking to, right?
Yeah. So there's 2 questions when you evaluate somebody and try and figure them out. Their pace, is it fast or slow? And if they're people oriented or if they're task oriented. So those are the 2 questions. So Tanya here is a fast paced people person. Okay. And knowing you for a few minutes, you're a fast paced task oriented person.
See, you stole my thunder. That was my test for you, but very well.
No,
very
you're
good,
the
very
dominant entrepreneur over here. And Tanya is over here as the fun person, marketer, salesperson that communicates with people. But you take control of situations.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, exactly. See, there you go. And then, but if you didn't know this and somebody was like, what are you being this way for? And you can say, this is who I am, and this is how I like to be, and I'm comfortable this way. And almost it gives you, so you know yourself. It's self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Know who you are, know your strengths are, and then come to the world with what you have to offer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done some looking into it, but you guys are way
You know what's interesting with this? So there's many people that are slow-paced, non-people. In the male-dominated world, you're expected to take control, do these things that you're doing, but say one of your sons or something like that is not that way, and he's going to feel shamed and upset with himself if he's not this way. So back to what I was saying, you're a people person, you're slow-paced, which is not masculine generally, but be comfortable who you are, because there's other assets that you bring to the world, besides the stereotypical male. And it's the same thing as a woman. There's many women that take control in situations and they're task oriented, and that's not usually women. Women are supposed to be slower paced, nicer people that are just people.
Just a quick note for the editor where Larry said that that's not a masculine trait. Will you please remove that part? Thank you.
Stop that. So, but here's the key. Just like, so say you're in a job where sales is required. It's not the main part of your job, but sales is required. And you don't have those necessarily outgoing skills, but you do it differently.
Yeah.
So how would you help them shift? So say they are take charge, but very methodical. How would you help them
Yeah, you'd have to get them out of their box because you can visit the other personality traits. It's not, it can be very difficult. So if you tell me you need to go be an accountant and look at numbers all day and you need to do details all day long, I could do it, but it's going to be a huge hurdle. So if somebody wants to go on the other side and to sell, like you're saying, they have to role play, they have to practice, they have to put a lot of time and effort into it. Everybody can visit all the boxes and do whatever they can. It's just a little bit more effort to get in those places. So if I'm going to send you, Jerry, into an office and I'm going to have you do like what I'm saying, run numbers all day long, sit with people, don't talk to any, or I'm sorry, the opposite of you would be dealing with people. You have to be empathetic. You have to hug people. You have to sit with people, hold their hands and explain them all kinds of things and be sensitive with them all day long and serve them all day long. Would that make you comfortable?
No, it's definitely not one of my strengths.
But you could.
And necessity is the mother of invention. I end up doing it a whole lot more than I might like. But
exactly. But to what Tanya was just saying, if a person that is like what you're saying is detail oriented, but they can visit the box, just like Jerry was saying on the other side, the opposite of him.
So I know I've seen you do it. I've especially seen you do it with our sons. He can do it, but it requires a lot of energy. Yeah. And then he needs to go back to his cave and go inside for a little bit.
There you go.
And regroup.
That's perfect. I mean, it's draining. I can do it, but it sucks the life right out of me. And I'm not bad at it if I do say so.
No, but you're more voted. Think if it wasn't your son and you were different type of motivation there. Think if you had to do it on your job every single day and it wasn't something that something had to be done.
I do have to do it.
Okay, well, there you go. Okay.
He does do it, but that's part of what makes his job kind of draining. And then I'm the opposite. You put me in front of a spreadsheet, have to do those types of things. I can do it. I can actually be very good at it, but it's a lot of energy.
It takes a lot of focus, a lot of energy. But if you're just talking to people, hanging out one-on-one and you were good and the pace was good and everybody connected, boom, you could do that all day long and you don't need to rest from it.
And the main piece, I think, about this disc style, and we can put up some more in the links below on how to check your disc style, is to know where you are and to understand where the other person is. Because Larry didn't come in and test me and go, oh, all of a sudden, I know you're an I, and he didn't come in and test you and know that the DC probably. Yeah. Know that he's a DC. He just has gotten the feel for people. And that's when it'll help you with your teammates.
Yeah.
It'll help you when you interact with customers. It'll help you when you interact with your family. That's is that Self-Awareness Friday?
Yeah. No, Self-Awareness is Wednesday.
Self-Awareness Wednesday. And that comes in a 5-minute teaching segment. Now, personal development, that's the other one.
It's important. These are skills that you guys teach your kids. We teach our kids. This is a Tony Robbins thing, the Zig Ziglar things. You have to they're not always innate. These are things you just teach. These are best practices of society and for yourself. You don't leave work, or you shouldn't leave work. You can go drink 10 beers and go to bed at 3:00 in the morning, expect to be great on your job the next day, or stay up all night long playing Halo and expect to be doing good at work all day, or fight with your family. You go home, you prep for your next day. You work out, you have something good to eat, you prep for your day the next day. And then when you get up in the morning with a good night's sleep, you're going to be successful the next day versus the other things. I'm not saying you need to do things perfectly, every single day and night, but this personal development teaches these skills to the guy that doesn't know, that think it's normal to go have beers or video games or argue all night long. You teach these things to people. And it's so funny. You think some things are innate, that they should just know, people should know, but they don't. If you don't have parents to give you direction, you don't have quality. And I start with parents, and I also start with the school system. What did they teach you, Jerry, to run a business in grammar school, high school, college? How much of that did you learn?
Oh, don't get me going.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Society.
I can tell you for sure that, A squared plus B squared is C squared, and that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. As far as anything regarding economics, finance, how to be an entrepreneur, sales techniques, how to get along, how to speak to somebody's needs.
But a lot of these things, taking a step back, speaking to people, where did you learn these skills that you were interacting with people, that your personal skills? Did you learn from your family? Did you have a mentor? Did somebody come to you?
Yes.
Okay. And now if that person, if they didn't come to you and you didn't know these skills and you were riding a couch or you were, went to your grandmother's house, or nothing to say, taken away from grandmother that's raising kids. But if you went places and you didn't get the attention, if you're one of 12 kids, you probably got a lot less attention for personal development versus maybe as one of 2 or 3 kids or something like that.
Well, yeah, I don't know what it's like to be from a large family, but I can imagine that the potential is there for the parent to set the example and then the kids to utilize each other but yeah, no, I'm completely with you. And somebody who spent roughly half their life, in the doldrums of drugs and alcohol, those skills were never really honed. I mean, look, if you're still alive, you're learning stuff, but definitely hampered, definitely held back. Lucky for me, I survived it and went through a crash course. And I think I'm pretty advanced now, even with all of that.
You have special skills. Extra special skills.
Yeah, special. I'm special.
Well, and with the personal development, when businesses sign up for your soft skills, what are they getting? I mean, people will say, well, it's not my responsibility to do personal development for my staff.
Yeah. Well, the owner says that, sure. Then who's going to teach him? Okay, you got to go hire somebody else. You go through 10 people to hire that don't have the personal development or the in-home behavior skills. Okay, then why don't you just train the first 1, 2, or 3, and you might have a good employee. You train them 5 minutes a day, or you could this is what we were frustrated with. We kept getting guys without skills that we needed for the job, not the technical, but the personal soft skills. We realized we had to train them because they didn't have them from wherever they weren't taught them. And we said, if we don't teach them, nobody's going to teach them. And we need somebody to go out and represent our business well. So we might as well teach them how to represent our business well. And this is how we came up with it.
And so what I see is a win-win. The person wins because they're getting skills, they're getting lifetime skills they can take someplace else. And we were just looking at the statistics. Every time you hire somebody, it costs you 1.5 times their annual salary. So if you're paying $40,000 to somebody, it's $60,000 to keep hiring over and over and over. So the business wins, the person wins, and quite honestly, the world wins, the community wins.
And you're never going to have to keep looking for people. They will stay with you. They'll tell your friends to come and work with you. That's exactly what happened in our business. We started teaching these skills. They stayed with us 3 times as long, and they were with us for years. And they brought their friends, and they said, oh, this is a great place to work. These guys will teach you things that nobody else will teach you. And then we never had a problem hiring.
Well, and the other thing, this sounds like a huge extrapolation, but it really isn't. You're giving them meaning. They are not just showing up and going, okay, I make, X amount of dollars today. I get to take that home and I get to pay my rent. That's some meaning, but you're keeping them from going down the road for $1.50.
Yeah, no. And there's purpose to coming to work every day. They're not going to jump ship to go to the next guy for $1.50 down the road. Cause that happened to us. That was part of the thing. Amazon came into town and took half our staff. Another guy came and poached half our guys for $1.50 more an hour. And we were like, so frustrated. What do we need to do to keep our team engaged and happy, do a good job, and not leave us? So we started investing on the skills that I don't know any other businesses that teach these skills to their team.
And then do you have any examples of your guys taking it home to their families?
Oh yeah. They take it home. They teach it to their kids, the personal development. There was 2 guys that were single dads, and they had grammar school kids, and they were teaching the personal development to them every day because it was new to them because they weren't raised properly, and they didn't have raised properly. I know that's vague, but they didn't have these skills, and they were teaching them to their kids, and they were teaching the sales skills to come over objections with their kids because, they're struggling with things in school, and it would build the confidence. If you can pass objections in the sales, you got to have great self-confidence and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So he was raising their kids' self-confidence through the objection training that we're giving them at work.
It's mind-blowing the steps that you can take to make this shift in purpose and meaning, because how many jobs have you and I worked where we're like, we're out of here in 6 months because it was paying the bills, but it had no value beyond that. And maybe we even had the technical skill to do it, but no value beyond that.
The technical skills are something that people know this is what they have to do. So they focus on that. They can do the technical. And even when they call you to their house, they just expect you to do the technical. They don't expect you to make a connection, to make an upsell, to make them a repeat client, to get referral. Those are just like extra things. And they're not hard to get. If you can teach somebody how to be a better person, it's not a stretch.
So we've covered self-awareness and personal development. Tell us about the other three.
The in-home behavior. I mean, guys wouldn't realize you don't walk across the lawn when you walk into a house. You don't park your car in front of the driveway so Mr. Jones can't get out of the house. You don't park your car in the driveway if you're leaking oil. And then when you come into the home, you look Mrs. Jones in the eye, the client in the eye. When she goes up the stairs, this is always great. We learned this because we experienced it. Let her get to the top of the stairs and don't walk directly behind her, because she's going to turn around and thinking your face is right at her rear end, and it's very uncomfortable. And some of these are trial and error, and also how to be the expert on the job. You know how to do that craft. The person that hires you in the multi-million-dollar home, you're a little intimidated by that person, probably a lot intimidated. And they're going to try and tell you or question you. You have to have the confidence to come back and say, this is what I'm doing. This is what I do. And this is the job, and communication skills.
So building that confidence, and that's a lot when people lose their purpose, lose their meaning, have numbed out for a long time, their confidence has just kind of crumbled underneath them. And we just had a guy, we had our storm door blown off, and we had a guy come and do that. Now he came in with confidence. I said, the door's over here. He said, I got it from here. Took care of it completely. I didn't need to question him. I didn't need to ask him anything. And his whole demeanor, I don't know how to explain.
That's how you carry yourself.
Whole demeanor said, I got it. I've got this taken care of.
It's great. And that's if you train your guys, your girls, your technicians, whoever's out there, your staff, your team, whoever's working for you, to have better self-confidence and carry themselves better. It just makes your company look better. And it makes everybody feel better inside. So your culture is going to be better. And it just goes a long way.
So the increments are 5 minutes. And some people are going to say, what can you learn in 5 minutes?
I can learn a ton in 5 minutes, because they're not going to listen past 5 minutes anyway. So, and it's funny, this is great, because my business partner, we call him the tech whisperer, and he gives the lessons, because I would explain something to one of our technicians and they would just go blank. And I'm like, and he'd come over and explain it to them in half the time that I did. And they go, oh, okay, no problem. And they walk away. I'm like, what just happened here? And he would tech talk to them, and they got it. And this isn't like what to do on the job. It was how to get there, how to approach Mrs. Jones, and a lot more details than just how to fix whatever needs to be done.
Because, and we find this with a lot of people in program, is sometimes the social skills are not there. They just never learn the social skills, or they numbed out around the social skills, or unless they're using or drinking or whatever.
Don't look at me. Come on. I get self-conscious.
I'm looking for some support here for or whatever. The social skills are just not there. And what you're saying is not too late.
No, not at all. I mean, we had so many people come in. We actually had a guy that was struggling with addiction early in his life, and he must have been 55, and he stayed with us for 7 years. And we taught him so many more skills, and we put him out of his comfort zone. You put somebody out of your comfort zone with direction, it's successful. And that's pretty much what we do. We put somebody in a situation they're not used to, but we show them how to do it, and they're successful. And all of a sudden their confidence goes through the roof.
And that's kind of what we're doing with the podcast, is we're trying to take you out of your comfort zone and say, hey, let's step this up. Let's find your purpose. Let's find your meaning. And then you will have direction, because that's another thing that I face when you're just going to the job for the paycheck is there really is no direction. Why show up on time? Why get dressed well? Why,
It's very discouraging. I mean, you got to have, that's where the leadership skills come into play with the owners to make it an engaging job. I mean, these lessons are something that we put into play that gives the technician something to talk about throughout the day. Instead of saying negative things about their day, what's going on, the CSRs, the people that answer the phones that deal with the technicians. Hey, what'd you think of that lesson today? And it creates a theme of the day based on whatever the lesson was. Excuse me. And then the owner, if he has to talk to the technician during the day, hey, what do you think of the lesson in the morning? How is that applied to you? And then usually the next morning, guys will come in, hey, you were talking about, talking to Mrs. Jones in a certain situation. That same thing happened to me that day. Or Eric would be talking about upselling, education-based upselling. Hey, took a suggestion from Eric. I was explaining to the client exactly what needed to be done and why it needed to be done. And all of a sudden it worked. And I had a huge upsell, and they feel so good about themselves. It makes a big difference in their day.
Well, and then, I mean, you guys are going to have to look at this. Chuck the truck.
Chuck in the truck, Paul the pro.
And Paul the pro. You even describe showing up. For me, it wouldn't be clean shaven, but I've got my earrings on, I've got some makeup on, or and I've put on you're wearing your Coke shirt, I put on my uniform shirt. I'm committed. Whereas Chuck the truck shows up,
crawls in late, tries to sneak in. Nobody sees him, but they all know he's coming in late. Smells like a brewery and cigarettes. And what's he prepared with for the day? He's got a Red Bull and cigarettes, and that's his nutrition for the day. Or maybe he'll swing by 7-Eleven and get a hot dog in the middle of the afternoon. Where's his energy going to come from? And you explain, oh yeah, I do that too. I probably shouldn't do that. Okay. Bring a sandwich, bring some water, be prepared for your day.
And it's kind of the 5 minutes a day, and especially if they can do it in the morning, it's kind of setting you up for the day instead of, draining you for the day. Because that's what I'm personally working on. You can decide how your day is going to go and how you're going to feel. And those are the things that you're teaching them.
Well, a lot of the technicians like stability. Everybody in life kind of wants the stability, wants to know what's happening each day. They don't want to be thrown a curve on a continuous basis, especially technicians or maybe recovering people that are having trouble want some stability. When you have something in the morning that's on a regular basis that gives you a message that creates stability in your day, it's something to look forward to, that would create a successful outcome for the day.
Well, and I've seen several of the messages. The messages are fun. This is not finger pointing. It's not, you've got to do it like this. They're easy and they're fun. And what do we know about YouTube? If it's between 3 minutes and 7 minutes, then people will actually watch it.
Yeah, exactly. More than that, you can watch the drop off. I do it on all of our videos. Anything that's longer, it just drops right off.
So what have your business owners experienced from employing your program?
Well, it gives them back time because the technicians can make better decisions, better choices on the job without calling them, and they're more sure of themselves, and they're not blowing up the boss every time a problem happens. They can handle minor confrontation from the client. And do they blow up your phone sometimes?
I wanted to, because I'm pretty sure that this gentleman A, knows who he is, and B, isn't listening to this right now. But I have a new guy who's great. We get along just fine. He gets the job done. He's experienced. He's skilled. But he calls me 15 to 20 times a day. And sometimes it's personal. Sometimes it's work related. The conversation doesn't need to take place. You ever had that?
Oh, always. I mean, that's something you need to minimize because it takes so much of your energy.
And see, I have a challenge with confrontation. and one of the things I try and do, right or wrong, is to be available on all levels for all my people. Any suggestions for me on how I might minimize that?
Eric was like that. He took a lot of calls over the years from the guys, and he would tell them what to do instead of saying, okay, what do you think you should do, and help them figure it out themselves. And it wouldn't be the first phone call, but maybe the third or the fourth or the fifth. They would say, okay, cool, I know what to do. Oh, they would have the answer in their head, but it was a habit of calling you. And many bosses I've heard over the years, don't call me unless you have a solution or suggestion for the problem that you're calling me about. And if you're asking me if you like my idea or not. But Eric, I said to him, stop telling them what to do, help them figure it out themselves. And that's a leadership skill, which I'm sure you have that capacity to handle.
Well, I mean, this gentleman who calls me, I think he's just calling me just to talk because he's lonely.
You can get him a dog.
Not in my truck.
Well, no, when he goes home, he'll have somebody to hang out with.
Yeah, I think he's got one there, just, in that lifestyle.
Yeah.
It gets pretty rough out there. For me, I can transition between extrovert and introvert pretty seamlessly.
Good.
I spend too much time in any one of them and I get a little antsy, but I don't know. I was kind of looking for a silver bullet. So
yeah, that's what we're always looking for. But I guess if he wants a friend, I don't know. Do you send him out just by himself? Can you send somebody with him?
That's kind of a punishment.
For him or the other person?
Both. Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody likes that.
Yeah.
Can I tell you?
Yeah, please.
Can I give you a suggestion? So one of the things you say, I hear you on the phone. One of the things you say is call me anytime. It's okay to call me. Keep in touch with me. Make sure you're always letting me know what's going on.
I appreciate the update.
I appreciate the update. Your language is very inviting. And when you do that and respond that way, they're just going to keep doing it.
Oh, it's a good point. So what do you suggest? How would those responses be better honed?
I think the word is boundaries, but it's hard as a leader because you want to be available to them. So you'd have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. Because as you know, every one of your workers has a different personality with different things that they want, but you do have to establish boundaries. Yeah, I know. I know. It's going deep here.
So we talk about boundaries all the time, and I think Larry just nailed you right there.
See what you get? Tricks me coming in.
Careful, we're married. You don't want me to start setting up boundaries that are uncomfortable for you.
You set up boundaries all the time, and I think that's one of the things that these soft skills will help with is, as I'm processing the thoughts, as they feel more confident, then they will be able to set up boundaries too.
Yeah.
And say, I will do this and I won't do this, and won't be pushed around by the clients as well, who may ask for more than what's realistic. Because if I had said, can you hang the door, shovel the sidewalk, and make sure you sweep inside before you leave?
You did say that.
I didn't say that to the door guy.
Oh, I thought you were okay. No. So originally it was, you can hang the door. I was like, whoa. I got boundaries where it matters,
I get lots of credit because I found the guy. I picked up the door. I left you completely out of it because I knew you were busy, and it's completely taken care of. But I could have, in a way, the client is always right. And I could have said, can you do this, this, and this, and this? And he needed to look at me and say, ma'am, I'm here to do your door.
Yeah.
And those are the skills that I've got.
Yeah. Or you say, it'll be $10,000 to sweep your
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So are you going to set up some boundaries around your
marriage?
Well, those two.
Yeah.
No,
but I mean, one of the things that I've been able to integrate into my life as I get older here is this idea to make sure that the seed that has been planted here in this podcast will remain watered and nourished, and I'm sure it will grow into a really nice, strong boundary at some point.
But that when Larry's talking about leadership, that's part of it. Is like you said about Eric, your partner, is that he couldn't keep answering. If he kept answering the questions, they were going to keep coming. But if he started asking questions, then they were going to start working it out for themselves. Yeah. And that's what the soft skills
and that
are about.
Worked in that circumstance. I'm trying to think I'm gonna have to consult Eric and get back to you, Jerry, on that question there.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Because we had a couple guys that would call him all the time and visit him in his office and hang out, and he'd text me, "Get him out of my office, please," because he didn't have the skill set to get him
So
out.
these guys that, I run an over the road trucking company, and the guys get pretty lonely out there, especially now when the market's so brutally awful and they have to be out for a long period of time in order to pay their bills. I'll get a text message from my assistant from time to time that says, "Will you please call me and save me from this conversation?"
Exactly. Yeah, because I could see that maybe to get XM radio subscription or what else could they listen to while they're there?
Oh,
I mean, we have cell phones. If that's what you're looking for, you can find it. I don't think there's slam dunk other than what was the skill, the personal development. I mean, one of the gentlemen I have is a recovering addict like myself, and I was like, "When's the last time you've been to a meeting? Like, I can't do anything for you here." And not that he was talking about doing anything unsafe, but he was just talking about, as we talk about in 12-step recovery, resentment and emotional stuff that's developing is the number one offender.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, he was probably several stages away. I'm not a doctor, nor am I, in the program, we also talk about not diagnosing anybody else. So I'm not about to do that, but I was like, you need a hug, man. I'm 5.5 hours away from giving you a hug. It's not happening. They do that at meetings. You know that, right?
Well, that's
More
a good
gentle
idea.
than
That
that.
gives him direction where he can do something about what he's struggling with. Or if you see, you can't tell him exactly what you think's going on, but that's a great idea. It's perfect direction.
so the personal development and the awareness is part of what you're talking about, and part of what Larry's program would teach him of, oh yeah, maybe it is time for me to get to a meeting. Maybe it is time for me to call my wife. Maybe it is time.
Yeah, I have a couple things. So one, did we go through all of the 5 things?
We didn't go over the accountability on Friday.
Oh,
There's
that's
a
important.
quiz, because you have to be held accountable for anything, all the personal development and home behavior, the awareness, and the selling, the self-confidence. You have to be accountable because everybody can tell these things. But as you know, in the 12-step program, if you don't put it into work, into process, and make it happen and be accountable for the things that you're supposed to do, what's the use?
Yeah, one of the greatest management tools I ever learned was at Coca-Cola. And it was this idea of, a good manager, it's really, it's simple, but it's not easy. The idea here is you set clear, measurable expectations, and then you measure them, and then then you meet together and you quote unquote hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Sometimes accountability can be, man, what a great job. Can you share with everybody else in the team how you were able to achieve this? I mean, it's not directly accountability, but it falls into that same genre of, we're going to follow up here.
Yeah, no, that's a good deal because everybody thinks, they want to know that in our school system, there's punishments, demerits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's accountability, but you got to translate it into accountability where it's helping them and they want to do it. So they want to be accountable.
Yeah. And it's also a great opportunity, if you do have a high performer, to show the rest of the team that we praise in public. That was one of the other major advantage tools that I got was criticize in private and praise in public.
Yeah. And that helps people out an awful lot with their confidence goes, dramatically.
Now, if we can just spend a few minutes to talk about Tanya's career, and then we could dissect that a little bit and offer her some constructive criticism. That'd be super.
Tanya needs more accountability, which is why Larry's here.
I thought she was going to sell you a membership for a few minutes for your guys so that they can be held accountable during the week.
How much is that? I might be interested.
Exactly. We'll set you up.
So when you're looking at this, how much time does the owner get back? And how many guys do you really need to have your program be advantageous for them?
Well, we have guys that have one guy.
Mm-hmm.
We have companies that have 20 and 30 and 40 guys. It depends. I mean, it doesn't depend on anything. I mean, it depends on the techs and how much time they're taking away and how often they're calling. But if you just get 1 hour a day back by investing, it's $150. It's going to be going up to $250 a month. and you get an hour a day extra for less phone calls. That's 5 hours a week, 28 hours a month. How is $250 worth that? Of course it is.
20, did you say 25 hours?
200, yeah, an
20
hour a
hours.
day. Say an hour a day, 5 hours a week. Over a week, it's
20,
28,
25
27, 28.
hours.
Yeah.
What would you do with 25 hours a month?
Well, I work 7 days a week, so I get
Oh,
30.
yeah,
I get
exactly.
4 times 3 of 35, right? So
Yeah, that's a lot of hours. What would you do with all those hours? You just would have time. You could spend it with your wife. You can hold hands and talk about her cells and all that stuff,
that's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, you could do extra podcasts and everything.
Or take the boys out or go to the gym, all those things. I think the real key is the learning doesn't stop. And when the techs get better, the company gets better, the owner gets better.
Yeah, and your profits go up. I mean, at the end of the day, you have a business. For a business, you're supposed to be making profits. That's your goal. So when you invest in your team and they give you time back and you have a better culture and you make better money, you put money, $250 a month in, and say you get a couple $1,000s back. It's not rocket science.
Now, just to get into the details a little bit, if I was to sign up for the program and I put $250 in, is that just for me exclusive, or could I integrate part of my team? Or
Yeah, those are lessons for your team.
Okay,
they're directly focused on training the technicians, all these skills.
Oh, that helps too. Yeah, for sure.
Because
then maybe you can multiply those hours, right?
Yeah, 1 hour per technician per.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot of time. 4-hour work week.
From 7 days a week to a 4-hour work week. And this comes through text. It doesn't take anything more complicated.
No, they get emailed the lessons,
Okay.
or we can text them too. Because during COVID, we had to kind of pivot, was the word in COVID, but we had clients where they were showing technicians lessons every day. We suggest bring your technicians in every day, show them the lesson, and then you let them go out and do the work for the day. But during COVID, they weren't doing that. So we were texting the individual technicians the lessons, and they were watching them on their own in the field. And it was successful as well. I don't think it was as successful. We didn't lose any clients, and I still got great feedback. So, everybody had to figure out how to do what to do. And it works out well now, because some companies don't meet in the morning. So this works good.
So this is like with your company, they would get this every morning, and then you could ask them about it when you guys do meet. You could ask them what they're learning, what's been important for them. We were talking about quizzes. Those are gamifying it. Every time they watch one, they get a little tink 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 noise type thing. But it also says, what we were also talking about, especially for owners, is it says, I care about you enough to spend money on this. Your personal development, your accountability, your awareness, your skills, those types of things. And those are why people stick around. I'm not just looking at you. It's the same for everybody. That's why I've put my VA through some training, because I want her to stick around.
Yeah. You invest in the people that you want to keep with you.
Yes,
of course.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing we're encouraging on Sober on Purpose. Be sure and subscribe, is to invest in yourself. So the owner can do this for you, but if you don't pick up the video, you don't look at it, it's not doing anybody any good. It's kind of like a gym membership if you don't show up. So investing in yourself is a huge piece as well. But that is the main thing that you're talking about, is if everybody on the team is investing in themselves, then the profits just go up.
Yep. Yeah, it's just simple, and you have a great culture, and the profits go up, but you enjoy coming to work. You enjoy owning your business. You enjoy working in your business, and you can't even put a price on that sometimes. That's a big deal.
So tell us how to get a hold of you. We'll put all the links below.
Supertechu.com, or you can email Tanya, because she has.
I have all the information now too.
All the information as well, and she can set you up, or just go check out the sample lessons. Supertechu.com, and then you can see what it's all about directly, and then go ahead.
And that's SUPERTECH.
U.com.
Okay.
Not you as in YOU, but Supertech U. TECH, yeah, not TE.
Out here in the mountain community, tech a lot of times is TEK.
Oh yeah, okay. No, TECH. There you go.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We did hold him captive. We did feed you, but we didn't
Yes.
hold you captive. There's a major snowstorm going on right now, and we don't want Larry to die on the passes, so we held him
freeze at
captive.
Yeah, and actually, I it's probably not the right venue, but my gentleman who was traveling on your route said it's cleared up quite a bit. So you should be cool.
So
You made the right choice.
Good, wonderful.
All right, Larry, thank you so much for being here.
Wonderful.
And come on back. We've got a lot more going on, and especially about your purpose, your personal development, and the meaning that you're bringing into your life so that you can bring it to other people.
Hi, Sober on Purpose family. Please be sure and subscribe. We have a ton more videos. We have courses coming up. We have a newsletter that comes out weekly. Plus, there is a podcast as well. And for those who are brave enough to really decide they want to move into the future, they want to move into their future self and leave behind the hurts, habits, and hangups that they have struggled with over the last year, I work with extraordinary women who are ready to step in, open their hearts, and find the true self that they can share with their family, their community, and the world. Because it's only when one person changes that the whole world changes. Are you ready to jump into that kind of adventure? Click the links in the show notes and let me know. Let's talk and see if we're the right fit. Again, remember to subscribe, videos, courses, podcasts.